Comparing Azure Synapse PowerShell versus alternatives is a comprehensive guide that explains the topic step by step. Azure Synapse Analytics is a cloud-based analytics service that brings enterprise data warehouse capabilities to the cloud. To manage and automate tasks in Azure Synapse Analytics, PowerShell is often used. First, let's discuss what Azure Synapse PowerShell is. Azure Synapse PowerShell is a set of CMDlets that allow you to manage your Azure Synapse Analytics resources. With Azure Synapse PowerShell, you can create and manage resources such as workspaces, SQL pools, and pipelines. Now, let's compare Azure Synapse PowerShell to its alternatives. The main alternatives to Azure Synapse PowerShell are Azure CLI, Azure Portal, and Azure Synapse Analytics SDKs. Azure CLI is a command line interface that allows you to create and manage Azure resources. Azure Portal is a web-based interface that allows you to create and manage Azure resources. Azure Synapse Analytics SDKs are software development kits that allow you to create and manage Azure Synapse Analytics resources programmatically. When choosing between Azure Synapse PowerShell and its alternatives, consider the following factors. First, consider your scripting needs. If you need to automate tasks, Azure Synapse PowerShell or Azure CLI may be the best choice. Second, consider your programming language of choice. If you prefer Python or Java, Azure Synapse Analytics SDKs may be the best choice. Third, consider your management needs. If you need to manage resources manually, Azure Portal may be the best choice. In terms of best practices, it is recommended to use Azure Synapse PowerShell for automation tasks. Use Azure CLI for cross-platform compatibility. Use Azure Portal for manual management. And use Azure Synapse Analytics SDKs for programmatic management. Additionally, it is recommended to use the latest version of Azure Synapse PowerShell and to install the Azure Synapse Analytics module for PowerShell. To get started with Azure Synapse PowerShell, you need to install the Azure Synapse Analytics module for PowerShell. You can install the module by running the install module cmdlet. Once the module is installed, you can use the Azure Synapse PowerShell CMDlets to manage your Azure Synapse Analytics resources. For example, you can use the new Azure Synapse Workspace CMDlet to create a new workspace, or the Get Azure Synapses QL Pool CMDlet to get a list of SQL pools. In conclusion, Azure Synapse PowerShell is a powerful tool for managing and automating tasks in Azure Synapse Analytics. By comparing Azure Synapse PowerShell to its alternatives and considering the key factors, you can choose the best tool for your needs. By following the best practices and getting started with Azure Synapse PowerShell, you can effectively manage and automate tasks in Azure Synapse Analytics.